In the game of global power, there is a concept known as the first domino. On January 16, 2026, that domino fell. While the rest of the Western world was busy building walls, Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney was in Beijing, shaking hands with President Xi Jinping. This wasn't just a trade deal, it was a total 180-degree pivot. After nearly a decade of following Washington's lead and treating China as an adversary, Canada has officially broken the seal. By signing a new strategic partnership, Canada has become the first major U.S. ally to realize that the future isn't about containment, it's about cooperation. This is the story of how Canada finally stopped acting like an American satellite and started acting like a sovereign nation that recognizes the 21st century belongs to the East. To understand why this pivot is so brilliant, we have to look back at the disaster of 2018. For years, Canada allowed itself to be a pawn in the U.S. trade war. When Canada arrested Huawei CFO Meng Wanzhou at the request of the Trump administration, they weren't acting in Canada's interest, they were acting as Washington's deputy. The result was a deep freeze that cost Canadian farmers billions. For 8 years, Canada tried it the American way. They banned Chinese tech, they criticized Chinese policies, and they eventually slapped a 100% tax on Chinese electric vehicles in 2024. But while Canada was being a loyal soldier, the US was busy threatening Canada with its own tariffs. Canada finally realized that loyalty to the West was a one-way street that was leading to economic stagnation. The 2018 trap taught Canada a hard lesson. You cannot build a prosperous future by alienating the world's leading manufacturing superpower. When Prime Minister Mark Carney arrived in Beijing in early January, he brought a new spirit of value-based realism. This is a sophisticated way of saying that Canada is finally ready to see China as it is, not as we wish it to be. Carney recognized that the Cold War mentality of the 2020s was a failure. While the US was trying to decouple, Canada saw an opportunity to recouple with the most dynamic economy on the planet. This visit was the first by a Canadian leader in nearly a decade, and the atmosphere was one of mutual respect. President Xi described the visit as a turnaround, and he was right. Canada has decided to stop being a buffer state and start being a bridge. By choosing strategic autonomy, Canada has sent a clear message. We will no longer let Washington dictate who our friends are. The heart of this 180-degree turn is a deal that is a masterclass in win-win diplomacy. For years, the West has been terrified of Chinese electric vehicles, calling them a threat to domestic industry. Canada has taken the opposite view. Chinese EVs are a solution to the climate crisis and the affordability crisis. Canada has scrapped its irrational 100% surtax on Chinese EVs. In its place, it has welcomed a quota of 49,000 Chinese cars a year at a tiny 6.1% tax rate. This is a game changer for the average person. While Americans are stuck paying $60,000 for an EV, Canadians will now be able to buy high-tech, high-quality Chinese models like the BYD Seagull for under $35,000. Canada isn't just buying cars. They are importing Chinese innovation to help hit their net zero goals. Even better, this deal is a carrot to get Chinese giants like BYD or CATL to set up joint venture factories in Canada, creating the next generation of high-tech jobs. In exchange, China has reopened its massive market to Canadian farmers. The tariffs on Canadian canola seed, which had been weaponized at 85%, will drop to just 15% by March 2026. This move immediately unlocks nearly $3 billion in trade. China also dropped barriers on lobster, crab, and peas. For the Canadian heartland, this isn't just a trade deal. It's a return to sanity. It shows that when you treat China with respect, China responds with opportunity. One of the most surprising parts of the deal was President Xi's commitment to visa-free access for Canadians. This is a massive symbolic victory for their relationship. It's a signal that the era of suspicion and hostage diplomacy is over. China is literally opening its doors, inviting Canadians to come and see the high-speed rails, the smart cities, and the green energy revolution for themselves. By making travel easier, the two nations are rebuilding the human links, tourism, education, and business that were severed during the deep freeze. It's a refreshing move that contrasts sharply with the walls being built elsewhere in the West. It proves that China is ready for a new era of openness with any partner willing to meet them halfway. This is where the story gets really interesting. Canada is the first domino. Historically, Canada has been the most reliable Five Eyes partner the US ever had. By choosing to prioritize Chinese partnership over American protectionism, Canada has effectively broken the united front of the West. Washington is predictably sounding the alarm. US officials have called the move problematic and worrisome. But their anger only proves that Canada's strategy is working. Canada has realized that the world is no longer unipolar. We are living in a multipolar reality where China is a central pillar. By being the first to pivot, Canada has gained a first-mover advantage. They are getting the best deals, the first investments, and the strongest diplomatic ties, while other Western nations are still stuck in the containment era. The world is watching. If Canada sees a massive economic boost from this deal, and early signs suggest they will, how long can Australia, the UK, or Germany afford to stay on the sidelines? Canada has shown that you can have a strategic partnership with China and still maintain your identity. They have provided a blueprint for other middle powers to follow. The 2026 China-Canada deal marks the end of the post-WW2 era, where Canada was expected to be a satellite of the United States. By embracing Chinese green tech and agricultural demand, Canada is building a 21st century economy that is resilient, modern, and diversified. While some critics in North America are worried about the loss of influence, the reality is that Canada has gained agency. They are playing their own game now. They have recognized that the path to a net zero future and a stable economy runs through Beijing, not just Washington. This 180-degree turn is a victory for pragmatism over ideology. The deep freeze is over, and the Great Thaw has begun. Canada has crossed the river, and the rest of the Western Alliance is left standing on the other side, wondering if they should follow. This January 2026 deal is more than just a trade agreement. It's a declaration of independence. Canada has opened the door to China, and in doing so, they've opened the door to their own future. The first domino has fallen. Now we wait to see who is next to realize that in the modern world, cooperation is the only way forward. What do you think of the shift? Does this landmark deal between Canada and China signal a fundamental change in the global power balance between China and the United States? With Canada acting as the first major Western domino to pivot toward cooperation, will we see other nations follow suit and prioritize pragmatic trade over Washington's policy of isolation? Share your thoughts in the comments below. I'm curious to see if you think this is the start of a new global trend. If you found this analysis helpful, please give the video a like and subscribe to the channel for more deep dives into China's evolving role in the world.